Hi, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to be with you. Hey, Jess, how you doing, sir? Excited for today's presentation and just sharing some things that I learned from one of my mentors many years ago, and I'll kind of share kind of the process of what I learned from this, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to really just kind of share it with the group here. And, before I really started to focus on my real estate business, I've been in real estate almost 25 years now. It wasn't until 2017 that I really started to focus on my real estate business. But it was 5 years prior to that I was in the industry of network marketing. And I really started to take it seriously a couple of years before that. And in 2012, I was able to work with a mentor that really helped me to grow my business in network marketing to a level I never imagined I could achieve. And he was actually a diamond. It was a certain rank in the company. Many network marketing companies, they have levels that are based off of gems and things of that nature. So he was a diamond in the company, and diamond was one of those areas that people aspired to reach. And so we talked quite a lot, quite a bit, just as an organization, did trainings in that space of what it takes to be a diamond in this company. And what I started doing is more research of what does it take for a diamond, an actual diamond, to become a diamond, and how it correlates to, your success in business or your success in life, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. How do the two really correlate? So as I was going through the process, one of those things that I realized is, and we'll talk about this process that an actual diamond goes through, and again, and see why, it requires, being in darkness for a long period of time and being under pressure and heat, and then there's this refinement period that has to happen, and what a diamond is when it's first discovered versus what it becomes, that becomes this thing of amazing value, is really a night and day difference, and it's a huge process, and we are really no different, in our lives and the things that we achieve. It comes down to the process that we go through. So let's first just kind of talk about, the diamond. Again, everybody, I can tell you when I was with this company, everybody wanted to be a diamond. Everybody wanted the fruits that came with being a diamond, the income, the notoriety, the recognition that came with being a diamond. But not everyone was willing to get cut. Not everyone was willing to go through the heat, through the pressure, through the pain, the agony, the work that it took to become a diamond. And really, when you think about it, everybody wants to be a diamond in whatever it is that you're doing in life, but it's, are you willing to take the cuts? Are you willing to go through the pressure? And we're going to talk more in depth in regards to that and what that looks like for each and every one of us. So what people want versus what it takes. When I created this slide, I actually, used this through Gamma. So it gave me four things of what people want, which are kind of overarching of kind of all things that people want. And then it only gave me what success requires. It only gave me those first four. And I thought to myself, well, honestly, there's so many more than just those first four. So let's talk about that for a second. What people want. Obviously, we all want success in the things that we do in life. We want the time freedom, the financial freedom, which creates choices, which gives us the opportunity to really do life the way that we see fit, the way that we would like to. And let's face it, we all want recognition. We want to be recognized for the things that we've done. in life. So, from an overarching standpoint, those are kind of the four general areas of what people are looking for when they're looking to achieve their goals in business and things of that nature. But what does it require? It requires discipline. It requires patience. It requires consistency, sacrifice. You got to be resilient. You have to have this drive inside of you, a level of determination that you haven't exhibited, at any other point to be able to push yourself to levels that you've never been to. You got to have focus and belief. And honestly, there's so many other words that can come to mind and things that you have to be dialed in on personally and professionally to be able to take your life to the next level of getting the success, freedom, income, and recognition. But this just kind of gives you an idea. But you can see that from the things that you want versus the things that it requires, the list is going to be a lot longer of what it requires to get those things that you want. We don't get things in life just because we want them. We get them because we work for them, and we have this determination, around them. Slides are having a little trouble. Okay. All right. So let's going back to, like I said, we're going to talk about the process of an actual diamond and how that diamond in the rough is actually formed as well. So we're going to show the correlation of the two. First and foremost, as I was doing my research on this, I realized that, diamonds are they're created underground. You think about it, 90 to 120 miles beneath the surface. It's dark down there. So diamonds are established and created in the darkness. And when you think about the darkness, you think about, again, when you're having an idea, you're having the dream of the things that you want in life. A lot of times you are going to be by yourself. A lot of times you are going to be alone. And it may feel like being in a very dark place, especially if you're in a certain place in life where whether it's a job and you're trying to become financially free and you know that this takes becoming an entrepreneur. Again, that process can feel very dark and very lonely during those stages. So what you have to understand is the process for all of us kind of starts in that same place. So being able to take yourself from a place of darkness to, even though you're having an idea, you're building your belief in the things that you want to be able to do, that you're going to be doing, much of this is going to go unseen, unnoticed, and really unknown. And that's okay. I want you to think about Steve Jobs. We all know that name. There was a point when he was unknown to the world. Michael Jordan, there was a point in life when he was unknown to the world. I mean, any, successful, famous person that you can think of, someone that has impacted your life, at some point, they were unknown, they were unseen, but they had this vision, they had this dream of what they wanted, and they pursued it. So let's talk about the pressure. 700,000 pounds of square inch of pressure. 700,000 pounds per square inch, just in regards to a diamond being formed. That's pressure. All right. But you think about it within our own lives, we all have pressure, and we have to look at, a lot of times, the pressure is what forms us. Because, again, if we didn't have pressure, if everything was easy, chances are we are not going to necessarily achieve the goals that we're trying to achieve. I always use the example, if your goal is to get stronger and you're lifting weights, you don't lift weights with light weight. You lift weights with weight that's hard to lift. Because it creates resistance, it creates pressure on the muscles that breaks down the muscle, that when it rebuilds, it becomes stronger. So we have to think of it from the same perspective. You're going to have adversity, you're going to have rejection, you're going to have moments that you feel like stopping. You're going to have setbacks through the process. And if you look at all of those areas of pressure, you should be learning, you should be gaining from them, and realizing, because the first time that you feel rejection in what it is that you're doing, if you give up, then you never transform into a diamond. Just like, again, without pressure on the from the earth's surface, you only have carbon that is created. But with the pressure, a diamond is created. So understanding that the adversity that you're dealing with, the rejection that you're dealing with, is only making you better. It's not pulling you away from what you're trying to do. It's actually pulling you closer to it. But you have to recognize that as you're going through that process. Let's talk about the heat. That is one of the things that I think, number one, with the diamond, 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot. No human could live in a second within that type of temperature. And I want you to think about the heat that we go through when we're building something from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Again, there's the criticism, there's the doubt from outside influences, there's the competition of others that's not even trying to help you, and then there's the failures. And again, when I always, if you've heard me speak about failure, you know that I look at failure as a good thing, because let's go back to the weightlifting thing that I just talked about a minute ago. When I go into the gym, or when someone is working out and they go into the gym and they're lifting weights, their objective, their goal for that workout is to take their muscles to muscle failure. Why are you doing that? Because you're taking your muscles to a limit that they haven't reached before, so that you can break them down, so that as from a nutritional standpoint, you're feeding the muscle, it's becoming stronger. So I want you to think, again, always look at failure from a positive aspect. And again, we can look at the temperature and think, man, this failure is something that will make you want to give up, because we've been taught in school, if you failed, if you make less than 70% on something, and it's considered to be a failure, we look at it as a bad thing. But even in school, it's one of those things that says, okay, I need to get better in this particular topic. I need to get better in this particular area. So it's allowing you to know your shortcomings so that you can improve on those areas. And then the stress of it all, again, I think with anything that we do, especially when we're trying to take ourselves to a level that we've never been to before, there's going to be stress around it. And we have to be able to just manage that stress of, I think the knowing and understanding that these are the things that you're going to go through helps to be able to manage that stress in itself. And just knowing that the failure is a part of the process. The criticism is a part of the process. The doubt of others and the self-doubt is a part of the process. Now, you can't necessarily do anything about the doubt of others except not necessarily prove them wrong, but just prove yourself right. And that's over the course of time. But the self-doubt, there's no room for it in your this maturation, this process that you're going through, of allowing self-doubt to be a part of the equation. So you have to recognize when self-doubt steps into the fold, and really eradicate it, remove it from your beliefs. Some of the areas of where I do that for myself is, number one, is what I'm doing something that has never been done, or is it just something that has never been done by me? And we're going to talk about, especially if it's something, in most cases, the things that we're trying to achieve, someone has already done them before. And then in the cases where the thing that you're trying to achieve has never been done before, a lot of times there's certain areas where maybe not the exact same thing that you're trying to achieve has been done, but there's something along a parallel that has been done. I always use the example of Roger Bannister. Roger Bannister is the first man to run a sub 4 minute mile, to run a mile under 4 minutes. And I remember, the story in regards to that. He was told that it's impossible to do this thing. And if he does it, his heart would explode. I mean, man was not supposed to run a sub 4 minute mile, and it was going to kill him if he did it. And it was, before he did it, no one had done it. So it was deemed to be impossible. People had gotten close, but they hadn't broke the barrier. But Roger Bannister believed that he could do it, he could survive it, and he was determined to be able to do it. And then once he did it, once he ran that 4 minute, sub 4 minute mile, probably over the last, the last 40 or so years since that has happened, more than 50 million people have run a sub 4 minute, 50,000 people have run a sub 4 minute mile. So I want you to think about it. Something that was deemed impossible, that it would kill you if you did it. And then once it was done and shown that it can be done, now, anyone that trains for it, anyone that's determined, that it's kind of the standard at this point. I think the record for a mile is like 3 minutes and 47 seconds or somewhere right in that ballpark. So you think well below 4 minutes at this point. So we took something that was impossible and now made it very much possible where other people have done it. So if you have that thing that you're looking to do that no one has done, and it is deemed to be impossible, you have to take the story of someone else, like I said, maybe totally different from what you're trying to do. Let's say you're trying to sell, $100 million of real estate in 1 month, and people are telling you that it's impossible. Well, you take Roger Bannister's story and realize, no, anything is possible. And then you train for it. You put the pieces in place to be able to make those things come to fruition. So let's talk about the violent volcanic eruption. What I look at this as being is it's that moment that you have this inspiration, this desire to do something. It's the goal, it's the dream that you have for yourself, and you start to profess this to the world. One of my things is, I have my affirmations that I share for me, but also I like a level of accountability. So I typically only one time will put things out there that I'm trying to achieve, because I feel like if I say this out publicly, now I got to do it. Because some people are watching. People are watching and rooting me on, and people are watching and rooting against me. And wherever you are in that category, I know that someone along the way is going to say, hey, how's that dream that you have coming along? How's that goal that you mentioned coming along? And I can't not necessarily let them down, but I can't let me down. I can't come back and say, I kind of just gave up on that. Or have all the excuses of why it didn't happen. So it's a way for me to create accountability for myself when I put it out there. I have a mindset that if I share something like that with the masses, then I got to go get it, because I'm waiting for someone to ask me, how's that dream coming along? How's that goal coming along? Whether they're doing it from a facetious standpoint or they are truly, wanting to support and just know an update on it. So being able to put it out there, what it is that you're trying to achieve. So now, then we get into, this is truly what, a diamond looks like when it's first comes out of the surface. It's dirty, it's dull, it's not very impressive at all. There's, even as you start to knock away the carbon and the filament and all the different pieces of it, and you start to see the actual pieces of the diamond and the potential of what's there, it's still very glossy. It's not very clear. And it has to go through an additional process. It has to be transformed from a diamond in the rough to, the marquee type of diamond or the princess cut diamond or whatever, type of diamond that, it's going to be transformed into. And you are the same way. You have to be transformed. So again, now you have the goal, you have the belief, you have the things that you're out here to achieve, and you've expressed it with the world. It's going to take some work to be able to still go out and get that goal, especially if it's a lofty goal. And the thing about it is many diamonds, they're overlooked before identification. They look like just any other rock. And many times, people, when they hear what you're professing as, the thing that you're going to accomplish, they're like, yeah, I've heard it before. I heard other people say that. But what is going to make you different is the fact that, again, that determination, that drive, that consistency that we talked about before. And others may not see your value yet, but it doesn't determine your worth. It doesn't determine. You are the one who determines your worth, and it's going to come down to the things that you're doing, the things that the work that you're putting in. So when we talk about the cuts, so once again, a diamond, in many cases, you remove the carbon, you show the crystal. It still has to be cut. It has to be transformed into the diamond that we know that has value and that has worth. Same thing with you. I can tell you this whole process that you're looking at right here started for me many, many years ago. But guess what? It still hasn't ended. I still have mentors and coaches. I still go through correction, and I still have that accountability, because as I reach one goal, I reach one dream, there's always another one that now I have to reach that requires for new mentorship or coaches that I'm working with. So creating, the diamond and removing, the material, shedding the things that have kept you where you are to become the thing that you want to be, it's going to require, mentors. It's going to require, working with people that can help you to get to those places that you want to go. Tony Robbins has a quote that says, in order to be successful, you have to put yourself in the room with people that have attained the success that you want, and you copy what they do until you get the same results. So I want you to think about it from that standpoint of getting yourself in the rooms with people that have had the success that you're looking to achieve, so that you can go out and get that same success. And that was one of the things that I learned early on in my career when I got into network marketing, and I was able to get with a mentor in 2012. I worked with him, for the first full year from 2012 to 2013. 11 months after starting to work with him, I was able to walk away from a six-figure income as a police officer 10 years early, retired 10 years early. I still don't draw my retirement right now because I don't need it. And it put me in a position to be able to really take my life in the direction that I want. And this was the first time that I realized, okay, working with the right people, working with the right coaches can really help you to achieve the things that you're looking to achieve. And so that's why I think it's always important. And when you think of the company that we have here, there are a lot of coaches, there are a lot of mentors that are willing to be able to pour into you and help you to achieve your goals. And then the correction aspect of it. This is just understanding it goes back to the failures. So if you look at the failures more so not as failures, but more as opportunities to make corrections, you have to do something for there to be a correction to be made. So you have to do something. If it works, then great. Okay, this is something that we continue to do. If it doesn't work, then okay, this is something that we need to correct. This is not a failure. It's an adjustment that we need to make to get better, to get closer to achieving the goal. And then accountability. I think accountability is one of those areas. A lot of times we overlook it, But I think when, like I said, I verbally put it out to the world in regards to things that I'm looking to achieve. And I do that because in my mind, even though no one may be necessarily thinking about what it is I'm trying to do, in my mind, everyone just heard what I said and they got a spotlight on me to make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Or there may be some haters out there that may be, watching to make sure I don't do what I'm supposed to be doing, just so they can, come back and say, something negative about it down the road. So it holds me accountable. And then I'm a part of accountability groups as well that help to hold me accountable on the things that I said I'm going to achieve. So then we get into the refinement. So once you have those components in place and you're doing the daily activity, you're taking the actions that you have to take in your business, this is where you're becoming refined. This is where the polishing is happening. And this is something that it's consistency. It's the routine. It's the repetition of doing it over and over and over again. I've been doing this Monday mindset probably, I don't know, 3.5 years, 3 years or so. And for me, it's one of those things of repetition. Because think about it, when I put these Monday mindsets on and I'm hosting, I have to I have to put the PowerPoint together. I have to do the training myself. So every time I do this, I'm getting a little bit better just because of the fact that I'm doing the studying around it. So there's a reason, on top of the fact that I love to help and impact other people, but there's also a part of it that's helping me to get better. There's the repetition aspect of it. There's certain aspects of my business that I consistently do. And because I consistently do those things, the repetition, the reps that I've put in have now made it easier for those things to be done. And then also it gives me a position where I'm able to not only do those things, but I'm also able to see the results come from it and come from it faster. And then we have that finished diamond. So this is where the light is reflecting it in its best possible way, because all the cuts have been made. If you look at that diamond, you can see all these different cuts that were made, and when light reflects on it, the basis of there's the 4 C's of a diamond. The cut is one of them: color, clarity, cut, and carat. The carat is the size of it. So how much did you have to chip away at it to make it a pristine diamond? The color is, again, does it have a fogginess to it and things of that nature? How clear is it? But most importantly is that cut, because how much light does it allow to reflect by the cuts that were made? And this is what creates the brilliance in diamonds. It's the same thing for you. You got to think about it. The more cuts that you take means the better you're getting with each cut, and the more brilliance is coming out in regards to the success that you're looking, to achieve for yourself. So, why diamonds are valuable? Again, it's because I look at it, again, we go to a jewelry store and we see this diamond and they put a dollar amount on it, and they say that it has this value, and they base it off of those 4 C's that I mentioned. But I look at it as, when I see a diamond and I see an individual that's going after their goals, I look at their value based off of the pressure they endured, the heat they survived, and the refinement that they accepted. So I love to hear stories of people that went through challenging times. They went through the pressure. They started to make their way through the process, and there was a lot of heat. There was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of doubt that they had to overcome. And then they got to this point of just getting better and better and better, regardless of everything that had happened before and everything in their past, and they became better. That's how I value a diamond, not by the dollar amount that someone says that it's worth because of those 4 C's, but more so of the process that it went through. And more, same thing with people. More so, I love to hear the stories of people that have gone through a challenging time, went through the pressure, they withstood the heat, and they continue to refine themselves, throughout that entire process. So again, it comes down to the truth. Everyone wants to shine, but few are willing to accept the shaping, the polishing, the cuts that come along with it. So this is a reminder for you that if you are going to be that diamond that you want to be, you have to go through the process. If you avoid the process, you avoid the outcome. And just know that you're always being formed. You're still being formed from wherever you're currently at to where it is that you're trying to go. I can tell you every year my goals get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the person to become the person the process is trying to create, you can't be buried. And you have to understand, you can't have a mindset that you're being buried. You have to understand that you're being formed. Sometimes we have to go in the dark to be able to come out and not see the light, but be the light. Be the light that shines through based off of the work that you've put in. So I hope this has been helpful for you today. This is, again, one of my favorite trainings. I don't think I've actually ever done this on Monday Mindset, but it was one that kind of came to mind to me over the weekend. Wanted to share it with you. Hope that, you took something from it and just realize that each and every one of us are a diamond, and it's just really a matter of putting in the work to get the sparkle that we want through the rest of our lives. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care and talk to you soon.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.